Well, hello everybody. How are we doing? What's going on? Good to see you all. Welcome to another episode of our Wednesday night webinar. I am Dr. Patrick McGrath, Chief Clinical Officer for OCD. Happy to have you here and discuss what's going on. Stacey, I don't think will be joining us tonight. Not feeling very well, so it'll be me. So we'll go over a bunch of cool stuff. Now, if you're looking for help for OCD or related conditions, check us out at nocd.com. That's nocd.com. And we'd be happy to work with you for OCD or other related stuff like trichotillomania, which is hair pulling, excoriation, which is skin picking. We do work on tics. We do work on hoarding, anxiety disorders, mood, you name it, we got it. So, and we could do our NoCD 411 sessions, one of my favorite things. If you've got questions about OCD and you just want to chat with someone about it or other conditions we treat, we can set up a session for that as well too. Megan says, my OCD does this weird thing. Like if I don't read my book before I watch my TV show, something bad will happen. But it will also say if I don't watch my TV show before I read my book, something bad will happen. What would you suggest I do when this happens? Sometimes it will pull me in this position where no matter what I do, apparently I can't win. I don't think anybody wins with OCD or doing anything that OCD wants, Megan. So what I would say is, screw you, OCD. I'm going to live my life, right? And that's just kind of where I would go. So you can have all sorts of these thoughts pre or post OCD, whatever it is that's going on in your situation. What I really want you to do is just hear them, let them be, and then move on, right? Allow them to be there and move on. Just because they are there doesn't mean that we have to pay any attention to them whatsoever, right? Just not required, not necessary, not needed. If OCD was a way to live, we would be giving it to people. We would be sharing it. We would be giving its secrets away to everybody to say, hey, here's the way to be awesome. Here's the way to really function well in the world. But that's just not the case. That's not the way that it goes. So what do we do instead? Well, we hear it, we acknowledge it, we move on from it, and then we live our lives, not the lives that OCD wants us to live. So Megan, you're right. You are damned if you do and damned if you don't with OCD. So you might as well just do whatever the heck you want to do because OCD is going to tell you no matter what it is, it sucks and it's bad and it's awful and horrible anyway. So why listen to a darn thing that OCD says as far as I'm concerned? Because it's just not a great barometer for a way to live your life whatsoever. TY says, how do you do interoceptive exposures for stomach aches? Maybe sit-ups could work, hyperventilation. But yeah, I would definitely do like some sit-ups or jumping up and down. Maybe can also lead your stomach to maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable. A couple of quick deep breaths might also do it. You say you try to confront your OCD fears and just endure the aches that come along with them, but it often hurts so much that you go back to avoiding things just to get the pain to stop. And you want to know how to tackle that. Well, here's the deal. As long as OCD knows you have a breaking point, it's going to take you there, right? So if OCD knows that if I can get your pain TY up to a level 8, then you're going to stop doing response prevention and you're going to turn to compulsions or avoidance or reassurance or distraction or other safety behaviors, then OCD is going to take it to an 8. It's just the way that it's going to go. So I know that this sucks and you're not going to like hearing this, but the best way to work on overcoming OCD is no matter what it throws at you, you say, right? And you just go on and you live with whatever it throws at you. And you learn that you can handle it. I, TY, believe that you can absolutely handle it, right? I 100% believe that you can handle it. You may not believe that, but I 100% believe that you can. And that's what I really want you to work toward is this belief in yourself that you have the ability to face that fear, that discomfort, and know that you can absolutely 100% handle that thing without having to do something to make it go away. Otherwise, this is how you will live the rest of your life, I fear, is OCD will keep pushing it further and further up to create more and more potential pain. And by doing so, what will happen? You will experience more pain, right? That's just the way it'll be. So, and then because of that, you will do more compulsions to try to make that pain go away. And we know that just doesn't work, right? More compulsions do not make OCD go away. More compulsions make OCD stick around. And we don't want OCD to stick around. We want OCD to go away. And I haven't yet met somebody who's made OCD go away by giving in and capitulating to everything that OCD wants. I've only met people who have started to live the life they want to live and not the life that OCD wants them to live by not doing what OCD wants them to do. So my hope for you, TY, is that no matter where it goes to, and no matter how hard you feel like it is, you'll recognize that, yes, this feels uncomfortable. However, not dangerous. Discomfort doesn't have to mean danger in these situations. OCD says it does, but it does not have to. Beth, you've written a few things here, but I'm interested. Beth, you say, well, my therapist that you've been working for 5 years and is moving to LA. Okay. You would also like to clarify something you said 2 weeks ago. I called BS on you. I said I was able to get rid of magical thinking 100% by ERP. You didn't believe me because I don't go out for my fear of COVID. COVID and magical thinking are not the same to you, so you don't do magical thinking compulsions anymore, but you hide because of fear of COVID and long COVID. How are they the same? Well, Beth, here's what I think. I think your magical thinking comes from the fact that you absolutely 100% believe that walking outside equals COVID, right? That somehow it will affect you, even though there's billions of people now walking around outside who are not getting COVID, not getting long COVID, who are not masked up, who are not doing all these things, but you hold on to the belief that it's different for you. So that's where I'm calling some BS on you, is that I want you to just be like everybody else, Beth. That's what I would like for you to do, is just be the way that everybody else is. Otherwise, you will spend the rest of your life just living here in your apartment. Now, maybe you enjoy that. Maybe you think that that's fine. But it's kind of to me like this. You're going to spend the rest of your life living next to your tombstone, wondering when you're going to be 6 feet under it, instead of living life and showing up on the day of your death at your tombstone saying, well, that was fun, right? And I fear, Beth, that you'll convince yourself that, yeah, it really is awesome just living in your apartment and not leaving it and hanging out with your, I forget what you have. Do you have, what little creatures do you have? Turtles, crabs? I forget exactly what it was. But the rest of the world is going about their business, right? And doing things. Now, could you go out and get COVID? Yes. Could you get long COVID? Yes. So you have to decide what feels better, right? What seems better? Just staying in your apartment for the rest of your life so that you'll never get long COVID, or living your life? My goal will always be for people to live their life. But you seem to believe that it's 100% certainty that if you go outside, you're going to get that thing, right? And I just don't think that that's the case. So that's where I'm calling things out. ABF says, reassurance seeking often gets an undeservedly bad reputation. Oh, we're going to be in a fight now, just so you know, ABF, but let's see where you go. Cognitive behavioral therapy and its emphasis on redirection can sometimes appear to discourage the pursuit of truth. It conditions one to suppress natural impulse to analyze and understand, favoring distraction over genuine insight. What do you do when you have an intrusive thought and complete the action, knowing it isn't as risky as you think it is? It's like the thought enters at the same time as the action. Well, let me go back to reassurance seeking here. It gets an undeservedly bad reputation. I will disagree with you on that, and here's why. No amount of reassurance in OCD will be enough to satisfy OCD. So that is why I don't like to do reassurance seeking, because I haven't yet met anyone with OCD who's felt like they've gotten enough reassurance for their OCD to go away, right? And if you have ABF, I'd like to learn about it, because I'd like to learn how you did it. You'll be the first person in the history of OCD who's finally been reassured enough for their OCD to say, hey, yeah, that's plenty of reassurance. We're good now. I just have never, ever seen it happen. Now, I don't mind that people analyze things, right? That's okay. ABF, I'm sure outside of OCD, you analyze things and you're able to do an analysis and come to a conclusion and put that conclusion into play or practice and go on and live your life. But then when it comes to the OCD thing, there's no amount of analyzing that will be good enough for you. There's absolutely no limit to the amount of analyzing that you could do. And so again, that's where I have a problem with it, is because sure, it's fine to analyze it. I analyze things all the time. Do I want to go this way or that way? Well, it looks like traffic's worse over there than over here. My Waze or apps or whatever say going that way will save 5 minutes over that way. That way is more scenic though and nicer. But no, I'd like to get there sooner today. There, my analyst is done. I've decided I'm going to go that way. Nothing wrong with that, right? But spending hours trying to see, but what if I do that? And then when I go that way, I know there's a pothole over there. And, if I hit that pothole at the right speed, it sounds like maybe I've run someone over. Okay. And then I'm going to have to drive around the block to see if I actually did, and all these things, right? You can get into what we call analysis paralysis, right? Where you can't even get out of a situation because you're so stuck in analyzing the situation that you can't even get out of the situation. So what I would say is this: it's not that I'm trying to get you to suppress analyzing. I want people with OCD to realize there's no amount of analyzing that you could do to satisfy OCD. So can we just call it as it is? I've analyzed enough. I'm going to move on. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to accept the discomfort. I'm going to accept the uncertainty. I'm going to accept the doubt. And that's how I'm going to live my life. Because I will not ever be able to analyze enough to the point where OCD will go, hey, nice job on that analysis. You finally did it. You finally achieved it. Good work. All is well now. We've analyzed the heck out of that thing, and now we have a conclusion. I just don't see that happening. Alex G. Rhodes says, what do you do when you have an intrusive thought and complete the action knowing it isn't as risky as you think it is? It's like the thought enters the same time as the action. Oh, I think I played part of that one. What do you do when you have an intrusive thought and complete the action, knowing it isn't as risky as it is? Well, I call that exposure and response prevention therapy. That's what I call it. It's like the thought enters at the same time as the action. And hopefully you do this, Alex. You learn that you can handle that thing. That's what I would really hope for, is you learn that, wow, just because I think something doesn't make it true, doesn't make it real. And there we go. I lived. I handled it. I learned. I moved on. So that's totally awesome. ABF comes back with, I realize there's never enough reassurance, but I would respond that the impulse to seek reassurance points to a deeper fundamental truth at the core of our existence. It's not merely a cognitive glitch to be endlessly diffused, as though reassurance were some intrusive loop to be kept at bay. But again, I'm going to go back to, if we know that we're not going to be able to scratch the itch, can we just accept that that's the case, that we don't need to do that, and that we can move on from that? Absolutely, we're humans and we analyze things. I'm not trying to deny analysis, and I'm not saying to stop using it in all other areas of your life. I'm just trying to say that when it comes to the thing that we have OCD about, there's no amount of analysis that's going to be satisfying to us, and therefore, why would we continue to do it? What are we going to get out of that? I'd say absolutely nothing whatsoever, right? I've not seen it happen. Jay Winter says, which comes first in someone who has OCD and autism? This would really help your guilt. Well, from what I have seen, autism is from birth. OCD I've seen usually around ages 3 or 4 start, but don't quote me on that, because that would require a little bit more research on my part, because I've never really kind of investigated that 100%. But others will say maybe it's not from birth. It might have come, like within the first year or something. Maybe there's been something that's happened, or I don't know if it's a developmental thing. I'm not an autism expert, so I can't give you a 100% for sure answer on that. But what I can do is try to find out that answer and try to bring that back next time. So there we go. Maybe snot. Thank you, Milo. I like that one. That's actually kind of funny. What is SUD recovery? Substance use disorder. Yes, recovery is what we try to do. we know that people can recover from both OCD and substance use. And some people use substances as a way to manage their OCD. And we know that that's not a really great way to do it. So. Angela says, Megan Johnson, me too. It's like, make me pick the lesser of two evils. Yes. Bloom says, how can you stop an OCD loop? By walking away from it, right? Definitely not by trying to engage it. I've not seen anyone win an argument with OCD. That's for darn sure. So it isn't going to be about, you know what, I'm going to outsmart you, OCD. I'm going to outthink you. I'm going to outanalyze you. I'm going to get enough reassurance for you or anything like that. It's, oh, you want me to do that, OCD? Well, I'm turning my back on that and I'm going the other way. I acknowledge you and I move on because I know that playing your game is just not going to get me anywhere that I want to go. So why would I continue to do that? There's absolutely no reason for it whatsoever. I still not seen anyone who, by engaging in more OCD, has seen a decrease in OCD. I've only seen it increase. Now, again, if it's different for you, please let me know. We'll write a book together. We'll make millions. You'll be the first person who's done more compulsions and gotten better. Always want to know if that's the case for anybody. What do you do if you act on your thoughts in your dreams? Well, then you accept that you have a dream. I mean, I've done lots of things in dreams, from flying to being in a hot tub with my entire family totally naked. So how much punishment should I go for now that I have had a dream of my entire extended family naked in a hot tub with me? What punishment, Liz or Lise, do I deserve for that if I found that to be an intrusive thought or image or urge, right? I guess in that case, an image. How much punishment do I deserve for that? And how much guilt should I feel about it? Or can I just accept that, wow, that was a wacko dream, wasn't it? Jeez. Not looking to have that happen in real life, right? But okay, I had a dream. Wonderful. Why is that not acceptable? What's wrong with that? And why should I be punished for having had a dream about something? Lexi's official YouTube channel, tips for treating scrupulosity, OCD, alongside religious trauma. Well, I think you want a therapist who can really help you with both things, right? Who can do trauma work and also who knows really what OCD scrupulosity is, so that they can guide you through some of these experiences, right? And both can be done. Now, maybe you deal with the trauma first and then you do the scrupulosity. Maybe you do the scrupulosity first and then you deal with the trauma. Maybe you have 2 sessions a week. 1 session a week is for the trauma. 1 session a week is for the scrupulosity. There are lots of potential ways to deal with that and to face that fear. And Lexi, just know that treatment is available for something like that. I can tell you we do things like that here at NoCD all the time, right? So there is a way to make that work, right? I don't know too much detail about what's going on with you, so it's hard more specifically to say, but I will tell you that it is a possibility to treat. Let's see. Alyssa. Patrick, that's me. Happy Wednesday. Same to you. Why do your thoughts bother you so much and some people don't feel so bothered? Like, why does it attack me? Well, because it attacks the things that are important to you. And the things that are important to you might not be so important to other people, right? OCD is very person specific. So I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Back when I was doing this live and we had our OCD group every week at the hospital, the new person would inevitably say to somebody in the group while someone else was talking, oh my gosh, I wish I had that kind of OCD. That would be so easy to deal with. And everybody would pause and just chuckle a little because they had all said it too when they joined the group, because everybody thinks every other kind of OCD would be better to have than their kind of OCD. And the reason for that is you're not bothered by the other people's kind of OCD because it's not that important to you, as is the type of OCD that you have. So, be it a taboo topic or a contamination or some kind of harm or some just right experience or whatever it might be, Alyssa, you hold on to that thing as being more important than anything else in the world. And that is why you are so bothered by that thing. But most other people may not see that as the most important thing in the world. And therefore, they can have the exact same thought or image or urge as you and not be bothered by it whatsoever, because it just doesn't play the same role in their life as it does in your life. And that's why. Rockstock says, my problem is looking for a silver bullet for OCD. It reinforces your just right OCD. You know, I think all of us are really looking for that. There's so much research being done on OCD to try to figure out, is there such a thing? There isn't at the moment, right? I'm not saying that there won't ever be. I don't think it will happen in my lifetime because I don't think we've taken science to the level that we need to as of yet. So I'm not counting on it in my lifetime. Therefore, if we don't have a silver bullet, maybe we have a copper bullet, right? Or a lead bullet or a steel bullet, which is exposure and response prevention therapy. And why not utilize what is available instead of, if you're not a researcher in this rock stock and you don't have millions of dollars in research funding and grant to be able to, do genetic work and to take a look at treatment studies and outcome studies and meta-analyses, why not use the thing that is available to you as much as you possibly can? Because I think that's what's going to get you the best result over time. I just wanted to put that out there. Beth says, as usual, you are correct. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate that. Hermit crabs. Oh, there you go. Beth has hermit crabs. I knew it was something, Beth. I knew you had a little thing over there. Let's see. Bannon says, 2 years ago, you told a big lie to a guy. I only wanted physical relationship who experienced true love for me to push him away. But I'm horrified now. What if he might believe that all women want is physical intimacy? That belief could lead him to initiate physical relationships too early in future relationships, or worse, pressure someone. This is a classic what if kind of experience right here, isn't it? I mean, this is exactly what we would expect for OCD. Excuse me. Something caught in the throat there. I'm going to take a moment. I'll be right back, everyone. I need a little drink of water. Okay, I'm alive. I know some of you might have been wishing maybe this will be the time. He's talked about his death a long time. Maybe this is it. I'm still here. Take that. Now, still here. It looks like it's just a Wi-Fi issue there. Bannon, is it possible? I can't say that it isn't possible. All right. So could that happen? You know what, it could. But I'll tell you what, you could have had the greatest relationship with this person, but for some reason something happened that led to a breakup, and the results could have been similar to what you're afraid of. So we will always look at, when we have OCD, what is the worst possible outcome that could have occurred in this situation? Oh, and what if I were the one to be a cause of this? I just had an interesting discussion tonight with someone that I was working with about this idea of responsibility. Let's chat a little bit about that tonight. OCD says you are responsible. You and only you are responsible. The reason bad things happen in the world, not politicians, not warlords, not evil, horrible people. You. Your thoughts, your images, your urges, your fears, your feelings, those are the things that make bad things happen in the world. And by the way, because they're yours, you're responsible, therefore, for the bad things that happen in the world. Because if you just had better thoughts or feelings or urges or images, there would be no bad things that would ever happen. This world would be a wonderful place were it not for you and all of the obsessions you have. Now, when I say that, I hope two things happen. Number one, you go, gosh, that sounds a lot like me. And number two, you go, and isn't that ridiculous? Because I would never say that to anybody else in the world. But boy, it sure feels like that for me. And as we all know, whenever we get into, but it feels like I get on my little soapbox and I talk about, just because it feels like something doesn't mean it's true. Remember, if I said it feels like there's going to be a worldwide earthquake in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, nothing. Why didn't it happen? It felt like it was going to happen. I really felt like it was going to happen. So why didn't it happen? Or when we do emotional reasoning like that, it's really not a great way to live and function in the world, because it just doesn't seem to give us the results that we would want to have. So maybe let's walk away from that. Let's step away from that a little bit, because I just don't see that helping us or leading us to live a great, fun, kind of exciting life. Instead, it's a life of a lot of misery and discomfort that we experience in that situation. Now, Madden, I wish I could guarantee you that somebody wouldn't have done what you're afraid of. I cannot. But I also cannot guarantee that it did happen too, right? I'm going to go back to responsibility on that. Let's just say, let me give an example, Deborah. Let's say I'm driving and I come to a stop. And there's a car behind me, and it stops behind me. The light turns green. Now, let's just say this even, to set this up even a little bit more. Let's say that as I was approaching the light, it was a perfect yellow, meaning that if I went through it, no one would have thought that I'd blown the light. And if I stopped, no one would have been like, hey, you should have gone through. Just we'll say the quote unquote perfect time. So I'd stop. So I'm here, car behind me, light turns green, I go through the intersection, car behind me goes, and boom, they're nailed by a truck that lost its brakes. Had I gone through the intersection, that car would have been the lead car, and then it would have made it through the intersection and the truck would have missed it. Am I responsible for the death of everybody in the car behind me? Now, let me throw a wrench in there. Let's say behind that car was a school bus full of children. Now, when it was the yellow light, I went through the yellow light. The car behind me stops, and behind it is the school bus. The light turns green, that car goes, the school bus goes, and boom! It's nailed by a truck, and all the children are killed. Is it my responsibility now that the children are dead because I went through the light? Maybe I shouldn't have driven at all. Maybe if I had not been on the road, then that would have been great. Well, if I'd not been on the road, then the car behind me, had it stopped at the yellow light, would still have the bus behind it, would still have all the children die. And if the car behind me had gone through the light, the bus would have been first. But buses don't accelerate really fast and they're really long. So even if it did, it still would have been hit by the truck either way. So now am I responsible for the death of all the children on the bus because I wasn't driving in the car that day? OCD will find a way to blame you for every single one of those scenarios. You cannot win that. It will always be your fault, no matter what. The reason those children died on that bus is because of you, even if you didn't leave your house. I say OCD's an asshole. That's what I say. Because anything that's going to lead you to believe that sucks in my book and can kiss my behind, right? And this is why I continue to do this and fight against OCD, because it is a no-win situation whatsoever where you somehow, some way, somewhere will always be the one at fault, even if you had nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's still on you. Keep that in mind. Hippie Mama says, I don't have daily rituals and most of your compulsions are in your head, reassurance seeking or situational. Can ERP work? Yes, because you do rituals if it's all in your head. Mental compulsions are just like physical compulsions. They're compulsions. And therefore, ERP would absolutely work 100%. And hey, by the way, no OCD available to work on that. So if any of you are looking for help for OCD or related conditions, check us out at nocd.com. That's nocd.com, where we work with OCD, body-focused repetitive behaviors like skin picking or hair pulling. We work with tics. We work with hoarding. And we do one of my favorite things, our NoCD 411 sessions. If you like some of the answers I give and you want an hour with me or one of my staff, we can go really in depth on some of these Q&As. It's not a therapy session, but it's definitely a cool Q&A session. Joshua says, how do I move on with my daily life when my OCD is making me doubt what I want for my life? The fear that I do not know or value my values any longer. Well, just because OCD is doing that doesn't mean that you can't live a life, right? So what's wrong with doubt, Joshua? I'm going to, go on a staircase after this. And I don't have 100% guarantee, Joshua, that I'm going to make it up or down the stairs when I go up and down them tonight without falling. So, Joshua, how can I go back into my living room? How can I go back upstairs when OCD is making me doubt if I'll even be able to make it up the stairs without falling? How can I do that? Can I just accept the doubt and then do it anyway and see what happens? I think I can. I would like to do that for you as well, too. I'd like you to do the exact same thing, right? That's what I would like for you. Hippie Mom also asked, I don't know the difference between anxiety and OCD. You've been diagnosed with OCD, but don't know if you can believe it. And I'm having a hard time filling out my fear and response list. Well, I think you can do that right in session with your therapist would be really, really helpful. And it wouldn't be uncommon for someone with OCD to doubt OCD, right? Because OCD can doubt itself even and can lead you to doing that so that you then will doubt if therapy will even work, because ultimately OCD doesn't want you to do therapy because OCD doesn't want to go away. So if it can even get you to doubt if you need therapy, then hey, guess what? Then you won't get it. And then you won't do that pesky ERP, which is known to work against OCD. And then if you don't do it, OCD doesn't have to go away. So there you go. Beth says, I don't want to get long COVID, be incapacitated, and have to live with the fact that now I have to live this way because I went out and tried to have fun. I would have to pay for it with your health for the rest of your life. I would feel guilty for letting this happen to myself. So, Beth, if we find out in a couple of years from now, neuroendocrine cancer would have been preventable for my wife had she just not run track and been outside running through fields in springtime when there was pollen. I'm just making some shit up here. If that's the case, Beth, how much blame should I give her for dying? Just curious. Let me know. Right? If we do find that out, how much blame does she deserve? Tina asked, what is an ERP with scrupulosity and prayers for daily life tasks? Please. Well, Tina, here's what I talk about with scrupulosity and praying. Praying is to commune with a higher power. Praying is not to ask for something not to happen, right? So what I say, Tina, is this. You can wake up in the morning and say a 2-minute prayer, and you can go to bed at night and say a 2-minute prayer. And then what you could say at the end of that 2-minute prayer in the morning or in the evening is, oh, by the way, higher power, please disregard all prayers for the rest of the day until my morning prayer when I wake up tomorrow morning or my evening prayer before I go to bed tonight. And that way you've nullified those prayers because they're not really prayers anyway. They're compulsions, right? How many prayers does your higher power require? Hours? Days, weeks, months, constant. You can't do anything else but pray. I've worked with someone who did that one time, who wouldn't even stand up without saying a prayer first because they were under the impression that everything they had to do had to be for God. And if they did something not for God, they were sinning. So before they would get out of a chair, they would say a prayer about getting out of the chair and saying, God, please know that I do this for you and not for the bad guy down there or anything like that. And then they'd stand up. And now they'd have to say another prayer before they took a step. God, please know I'm going to take a step and I do this for you and all these things. And then they take another step. God, please know I'm about to take another step and I do this. It was ridiculous. It was impossible to live like that. They were shut inside. They'd lost their job. Their spouse was losing it with them, and there was a threat of separation. Their family couldn't get through to the person, and their OCD had convinced them that this is what their higher power wanted from them. Now, I don't think you would believe that or anybody else would believe that, but OCD doesn't care if you believe that or not. OCD just wants you to do what OCD wants you to do. And as long as you do what OCD wants you to do, OCD's happy. And sadly, if you have OCD, you kind of have one goal, which is to make OCD happy, right? I know you have a goal of getting rid of OCD, but you kind of also have a goal of what can I do to appease this OCD as quickly as possible so it'll leave me alone. And I want you to walk away from that goal because that goal sucks. That goal doesn't give you the life that you want to live. It gives you the life that OCD wants you to live. And boy, that is not the life that we are working toward by any means whatsoever. Okay. Cassie says, you used alcohol for years to deal with anxiety and OCD. 16 months ago, you stopped drinking, thinking it would help your OCD. It made it worse because you had no skills. Joined OCD 2 months ago and it's changed your life. Well, A, that's awesome. So happy to hear that. And B, you're right. This is a problem sometimes with some of the treatment centers that say, oh, you've got to be sober for 90 days before we'll do treatment for you. That means 90 days of suffering because you have no other coping strategies, right? So you can be treated for both at the same time. And Cassie, I'm thrilled for you. Thank you for working with us at OCD. I'm so, so happy to hear about that. Annabelle gives a shout out to Hippie Mama saying OCD loves to get in the process of therapy. Yes, it sure does. OCD is a jerk. How do you stop Googling health related stuff? I just tried and I don't know how to just stop. Well, Bloom, one of the things that I've done with people who are trying to stop something and not stopping is take a look at like a response cost. During the elections recently, I did this with a lot of folks who were stuck, who were saying, oh, but it's so hard not to do this, right? It's so hard not to Google something or to not wash my hands after this. And I said, okay, well, let's just do this. Every time you Google a health-related thing, you have to put a quarter in a jar. And then during our sessions, we're going to count the quarters. And then we're going to have you write a check. And then we're going to put that check in the mail. And we'll be addressing that check to the opposite political party for which you'll be voting for in the next election. So if you're going to feed OCD, you're going to feed other things that you don't like also. Now, here's what's fascinating about that. I had some people whose jobs were threatening to fire them, whose spouses were threatening to leave them, whose children didn't want to speak to them anymore, and who kept doing their compulsions. But a $1.50 check to the party they didn't want to vote for pissed them off so much that they stopped doing their compulsions. Now, isn't that interesting? My marriage might dissolve. OCD wins. My children don't speak to me anymore. OCD wins. My job's going to fire me. OCD wins. A $1.50 check to the party I don't want to vote for? Hell no. I am going to stop doing that compulsion right now. It's all about finding the right motivator for people. And when you can find the right motivator, you can do wonderful things to help. So that's something that I would consider. Beth says, if you were stopped by the police somehow and they asked your license and you're taking it out and the card with the statement on about wishing your parents dead fell out, then the policeman picked it up, how would you explain it to them? I would say I'm a clinical psychologist who does exposure and response prevention therapy, and I was once working with someone with OCD who had a fear that their parents would die if they didn't say a prayer, and we ultimately tried to get them out of that, and this is what I did to work with them. I would be very honest and open about the very same thing. And I would say, by the way, you can also see me talk about it on numerous webinars. Here's where you can go watch the webinars. No CD YouTube channel. Check it out. Jose, at work right now, and the tech was there, but I was sweeping and noticed a reservoir for brake bleeding. The brake system was there. Didn't realize until I was about to sweep closer to it. Already got reassurance from him a while back and do not want to make a big deal out of it again, but my brain just can't move on from it. I keep looking at it, trying to move on. Well, what a great opportunity for some ERP right now, right? To sit in discomfort, to allow for the discomfort to occur, right? Let it be there. You're going to want to go and ask. You're going to want to get that reassurance again. And when you do, OCD is going to go, good job. Nice work. Thank you so, so very much. That was awesome. So glad you did that. Really, really appreciate it. By the way, also, thanks for feeding me. I'm now stronger. And next time it's going to be even harder to resist that, just so you know. So there comes a point where you have to decide. Today's the day. No matter what OCD throws at me, I'm not going to feed it anymore. It's like a little shop of horrors, right? Feed me, Seymour. Feed me. We're not gonna feed the plant. We're not gonna feed Seymour or what? I forget the plant's name. What was the plant's name? Seymour was the guy. But we're not gonna do it. Lexi says, meditation, mindfulness for OCD, helpful or not helpful? Here's my deal, Lexi. I don't mind if people do mindfulness exercises. I don't mind if people do meditation for it. I just don't want you doing it while we're doing ERP. I want you to fully be engaged in the ERP experience. I don't want you doing it while you're doing ERP. That's all. Otherwise, I have no issue with it whatsoever. Oh, here's an interesting question. What made me want to work with OCD? I'm fascinated by OCD as someone who deals with contamination OCD, but what made you fascinated by it? So I'll give you all my story. All right, everyone, ready? Gather around, children. Story time with Dr. McGrath. Here we go. I went to a small college, and I did well in the psychology department there. I was one of the top students in the department in my class. I did the annual research competition that we had. They had poster presentations. They had speeches. I won the speech portion of it. And my teachers all said, apply to all of the greatest and best clinical psychology programs. You will get into all of them. You will have your pick. So I did. I got into none of them. Not only did I not get into any, I didn't even get an interview. It was terrible. It was also quite depressing, may I say. I was really down. So I applied to master's programs, and I got into 2. And so I went to one of them because they offered me a free ride. I got to work for the department for 20 hours a week, and in return, I got free tuition and a stipend. And I was like, I'll take a free education. That sounds good. Then I reapplied to PhD programs afterwards. I got into 2 out of the 15 or 17 that I applied to. I went to one of them. I then applied to 15 internships. I got 1 offer, so I went to that. And then I applied to 40 jobs and postdocs, and I got 1 offer from the St. Louis Behavioral Medicine Institute in their department for anxiety and OCD. And it changed my life. I knew after being there for about a week that that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I had finally found a type of therapy that fit my personality and that I believed actually led to people making a change in their life. We weren't just talking about things, which is exactly what I thought therapy was all the way through graduate school. I just thought you just talk to people and they suddenly magically made changes by talking to them. And when I finally did behavioral work, when I finally had people face their fears and saw what it was to have this transformative experience by learning I can handle being uncomfortable, I can handle doubt, I knew that I had found finally the one thing that was going to help people who were anxious and who had OCD. And I've done that now for 25 years. So, Amelia, if you look at me on paper, I am a massive failure on paper. I have applied for about 100 jobs and schools in my career, and I have been accepted at about 10. So on paper, I'm about 10%. But I find it humorous now that those 40 jobs and postdocs that rejected me now seek me out and ask me to come and do lectures and train their staff and do all sorts of things. So I use that story for 2 reasons. Number one, I knew right away once I started doing ERP that it was going to be transformative in the lives of people, and that the best way that I was going to be able to influence the lives of people was to use a therapy that was going to be so influential and transformative. And that's why I do ERP to this day. And number 2, don't give up. I could have given up. There were times I thought about it, right? There was one day in college where 3 rejection letters came on the same day. And one of them was from the top school that I'd really wanted to go to. And I just remember sitting there thinking, why do I want to do this? The world does not seem to want me to do this. This is terrible. This is just my whole college career. What I've thought of since high school of what I've wanted to do is not going to happen. But I said, well, I could try this route. So I tried it. And then I could try this route, and I tried it. And then I just kept trying. I don't want any of you to give up. Sometimes you might meet a therapist who even does ERP, but you don't have the right match. It's not the right personality. Find another one. Don't give up, right? Face those fears. Learn that you can handle the discomfort that you're in. Don't let OCD win. That's all I ask for all of you. Do not let OCD win. Okay. OCD Surviving says, the most terrifying obsession I've gotten is about how recovering is going to turn you into a social construct and leave your soul behind. I am never able to do everything like people can do. You complete... then become insecure. You fear people in your life will abandon and cheat on you in the future. Therefore, you never want to be manipulated each time around, feel betrayed, and the fact that you can be independent of. You know, here's the thing. OCD is going to throw these types of existential things at you, right? And it's going to say, oh, but what if this? And what if treatment goes this? What if it doesn't? And what if that? And what if that? And it's just a backdoor spike of OCD trying to keep you in its grips, right? I mean, I can give you no guarantees that things will turn out, right? There's people who want guarantees, right? Like if I have a hit and run fear, and I get treated for that, does that mean I'll never run someone over with my car? No, I can't give you that guarantee about the future whatsoever. It's not possible, right? It doesn't work that way. And yet people keep demanding, yeah, but explain to me how, explain to me how, explain to me how. Sometimes we just have to accept, guess what? We can't predict the future, right? OCD says we should be able to. We should know everything. So sometimes we just have to accept, listen, the healthiest way to live in the world is to know that we don't know everything. And probably the unhealthiest way to live in the world is to try to know everything. So keep that in mind. What's your goal? And is that goal going to get you to living in the world the way people who are successful live in the world? Or are you going to live in the world the way that OCD wants you to live in the world? Because the way OCD wants you to live in the world sounds pretty shitty to me. I got to tell you, I just don't see that being a very fun thing whatsoever. Sunflower says, how to handle being in a relationship with someone who is impatient while having checking OCD. Well, Sunflower, the best thing that I could tell you would be get to work on not checking so much, work with a therapist who can really help you with that so that you don't have to live with a third wheel in your relationship of OCD. And bring your partner into that as well so that they understand the best way to support you through that experience, which of course isn't going to be just yelling at you and telling you to keep moving or something, because that's probably just going to add more pressure. And what happens when people have more pressure when they have OCD? They likely do more compulsions instead of less. So I think that you could both benefit from talking to a therapist in that situation. They could teach you the best ways to face your fears, and they could teach your partner the best way to support you going through that entire experience. Okay. Oh, I like what Wendy says here. My stoplight example is like the story of your responsibility OCD life. You have a hard time making any decisions because of the potential outcome of every decision. Working on it. Awesome, Wendy. Keep working on it. And I'm glad that example really gives you an idea. And again, I want to go back to that idea for everyone that there's no winning by doing things the way OCD wants them done, right? There's just no winning in that situation whatsoever. I haven't seen people with OCD say, you know what? Here's the deal. I want to share this with all my friends. I think all my friends would really benefit from living the same way that I do. I think that they're really missing out. I think that their lives could be so much more better with compulsions. If I could convince any of you listening to this to do one thing, that would be this. Consider, how are you living your life? And would you suggest anyone else live that way? And if the answer is no, that means you hold on to something that I call specialness. You believe the rules of the world apply to you differently than they do to everyone else. And that it's fine for you to do it that way, but it's not okay for anyone else to do it that way. Or you could not handle the things that happen to everybody else, or something, something along those lines, that somehow you're different than everyone else in the world. And to me, that's a recipe for disaster. I just don't see that helping you function in day-to-day life, because what that means is nothing that I say or anybody says to you can really apply to you, because you live in a world of different rules than everybody else. So then you'll be stuck going, I need someone to help me. I need someone to help me. I need someone to help me. But I'm not going to believe anything anybody says because the rules apply differently to me than anybody else. But I'm sure I'm mad and frustrated at the world for nobody helping me. But I can't be helped because I live in a different world than everybody else. What do we do in that situation? How do we actually help somebody? So we want to work on helping people get out of that mindset, move away from that, not stay stuck in that, because that is a recipe for disaster. That is the thing that gets in the way of the lives of people. And my hope is that you would all live the lives you hope everyone you love live, not the lives that your OCD wants you to live. Because, again, if you're not going to recommend that life to anyone else in the world, I sure as heck hope that's a trigger for you to decide, well, then why the hell am I living it? I mean, what am I actually getting out of this life of listening to OCD? Why is that the best thing to do? Why does that help me? I just don't see that it does. And I got to tell you, I've built an entire career of helping people not do that. I mean, it's 25 years of my life. Almost half my life has been spent on trying to get this, so many swear words running through my head right now, but trying to get this disorder to just leave people alone. And that's my hope for you, right? That's what I want. When you can accept that it's okay to doubt everything, and I mean everything. It is okay to have doubts about everything. Then you can live. I have nothing in my life that I'm 100% absolutely sure of. And that's why I live my life. But I know that if I had OCD and it was telling me, hey, Patrick, you can't move forward until you have 100% certainty in this one area, I'd stay stuck in that area for the rest of my life. So my hope for all of you is you learn it's okay to not know everything for sure. It's okay to have doubt. It's okay to have insecurities. It's okay to have uncertainty. Then you're going to live the life you want to live and not the life OCD wants you to live. And hey, if you want help with that, check us out at nocd.com, nocd.com, where we do all sorts of work on OCD and hoarding and body-focused repetitive behaviors and tics. We would love to assist you in that. We take most insurances, and we do work in the US and the UK and Canada and Australia. And we also do our NoCD 411 sessions. If you like what we talked about tonight, you want to talk to one of my staff more in depth about things, not a therapy session, a good information session, we would love to be able to chat with you. Have a great night tonight, everybody. Good to be with you. See you again in a week.